Number 5, a gnome? Is a gnome a demon? I don't know. I find most gnomes benevolent, actually, but they could be. Our next clip looks like something out of the start of a low-budget horror movie, bit of an A24 vibe. I started watching this clip, and then as soon as it got going, I literally pressed my nose to my computer screen, so I hope you do the same. The clip was posted to the subreddit r/humanoid encounters. I definitely recommend it if you're into this sort of thing. There's a lot of really good humanoid encounters on there. And the poster explained that this has happened to their relatives, but they don't know what's going on. What we can see in the clip is bizarre. Someone is outside on their front porch, shining a light into the darkness, trying to find what is stalking them on their property. It can be a little hard to see, but behind the big rock, we see what looks like teeny tiny little hands peering out, trying not to be seen, playing a little game of know me hide and seek. Now, it can be hard to make out what exactly is going on in this clip, but it almost seems too like there might be more than one of those little creepy crawlers wiggling around back there. Now, the original poster suggested that these creatures are indigenous folklore of little people, which I think this is pretty interesting. Is a myth that is almost ubiquitous across the globe. Pretty much every people's, Ireland, Greece, the Philippines, New Zealand, Indonesia, and so many more all have stories of gnomes or elves or little mischievous people creeping about in the night. I just find it interesting that the whole planet all has that myth. Are they all wrong, or are gnomes real? Now, to put on our Scully hat for a second, get a little dowdy, this could extremely easily be somebody playing along for a prank, or someone just hiding behind a rock playing with a doll, poking it out. The only evidence we have that this is a gnome is OP's word that they swear this is a close family member and they wouldn't do this sort of thing. And you can go through the YouTube channel, you see it's mostly just family videos, so that does make sense. So I toss it over to you, my beloved YouTube commenter gang. You guys keep me young. I love those comments. Little people creeping around, or is this just a tall tale? Whew. I spent all night working on that pun. And if you're looking for more videos of ghosts and goblins and gnomes with this guy talking over them, I've got lots of that for you on our channel. Hit subscribe so you don't miss any of it. Make sure you ring that bell so you doubly don't miss any of it. But if you really cared about me, no, I'm not saying you do. You do it at the end of this video so you can watch all the other demons caught on camera first, because I got 4 more coming. Number 4, Dogman. Coming up next is this clip that was making the rounds around the spookier sides of the internet of an Instagram user going live. The user was complaining that he'd seen something strange earlier in the day, referring to a dogman that he thought he had seen. Now, that is different from a werewolf. A dogman is a fairly popular cryptid that gets mentioned every now and again, kind of like a goat man or a mothman deal. It's like a bipedal wolf, but it's not a werewolf, okay? If you think it's a werewolf, that's a different thing. Anyway, this guy was talking on live and heard something strange outside and went to go check. Let's go with him and let's go watch the clip. Now we can roll it again if you didn't see it, but at around a minute into the clip, when the user going live hears something strange and goes in to check on what it was, we see something rush by, if only for a second, that does not look like it's from this world at all. Looks like a tall creature running by on its hind legs. And I know it does give off a werewolfy vibe. I get it. It looks like a werewolf. I get it. But it's a dog man. It's totally different. I don't have the time to explain the difference, but a dog man and a werewolf are totally different. Now here's the thing. Either this video is one of the best fakes I've ever seen, and I watch a ton of supernatural videos, so I like to think I got an eye for it. It's got a great budget and actor who really knows how to sell a scare, or this is something that actually happened to a real terrified guy. It being on Instagram Live gives it a little bit more credibility, you know? It's harder to fake things in camera on live. It doesn't really seem like someone in a costume, it just looks like it was a dog man caught on camera. Okay, so realist, Scully mode, I don't know if I have one. Molder mode, that's a dog man. That's a dog man all the way down. Why don't you all let me know down below what we think is going on down there, and also if you have some insight on the werewolf dogman debate, lend a hand. I'm fighting a losing battle here.
In third place, we have the brown lady. I swear this isn't going to turn into a list of spooky ladies identified by the color of their gowns. I promise. According to legend, the brown lady of Raynham Hall is the ghost of Dorothy Walpole, the sister of Robert Walpole, who is generally regarded as the first Prime Minister of Great Britain. She was the second wife of Charles Townshend, who was notorious for his violent temper. The story says that when Charles discovered that his wife had committed adultery with Lord Wharton, he punished her by locking her in her rooms in the family home, which is, you guessed it, Raynham Hall. She remained there until her death in 1726 from smallpox. The first recorded claim of a sighting of the ghost was by Lucia C. Stone during a gathering at Christmas of 1835 when she observed the Brown Lady because of the dated dress she wore. The following evening, another guest claimed to have seen the Brown Lady again, later reporting that on this occasion he was drawn to the specter's empty eye sockets, which were dark in the glowing face. These sightings led to some staff permanently leaving Raynham Hall, and you know what? Valid. The next reported sighting was made in 1836 by Captain Frederick Marriott, a good friend of Charles Dickens and the author of a series of popular sea novels. It is said that Frederick specifically requested that he spend the night in the most haunted room of Raynham Hall to prove his theory that the haunting was caused by local smugglers to keep people away from the area, and not by an actual ghost. The first 2 nights he slept with a personal safety bang device under his pillow and encountered nothing. If you didn't get what I'm referring to, just ask someone in the comments. On the 3rd night, his final evening, 2 young men knocked at his door very late at night as he was undressing to go to bed and asked him to step over to their room at the other end of the corridor and give them his opinion on a collector's item that had just arrived. As they were leaving the room, he brought his personal safety device, joking that it was in case he met the Brown Lady. When the inspection of the item was over, the young men declared that they would accompany him back, joking yet again about the Brown Lady. And this is where I warn y'all, if you tempt fate, fate will deliver. The corridor was long and dark, since the lights had already been extinguished by that point in the night, but as the group reached the middle of the corridor, they saw the glimmer of a lamp coming towards them from the other end, and assumed it was from one of the women in the home visiting a nursery. For context, the bedroom doors in that corridor faced each other, and each room had a double door with a space between, as is the case in many old-fashioned homes. Frederick felt uncomfortable being undressed around women, so out of modesty, slept within one of the outer doors with the guys, in order to conceal himself until the lady should have passed by. As my roomie would say, what a distinguished gentleman. He watched her approaching nearer and nearer through the crack of the door until she was close enough for him to distinguish the colors and style of her outfit, and he recognized the figure as the Brown Lady. He had his finger on the trigger of his device and was about to demand that the ghost stop and give the reason for its presence there, when the figure halted of its own accord before the door, and while holding the lighted lamp she carried to her features, grinned in a malicious and diabolical manner at him. Ooh la la. This act infuriated Frederick, prompting him to leap into the corridor and discharge the device in her face. The figure instantly disappeared in the tiny, kaboom, passed through the outer door of the room on the opposite side of the corridor and lodged in the panel of the inner one. Frederick never attempted to interfere again, so I'll give him a common sense point for that. The Brown Lady was caught on camera on September 19th of 1936 when Captain Hubert C. Provand, a London-based photographer working for Country Life magazine, and his assistant, Indre Shira, were taking photographs of Raynham Hall for an article. They claimed that they had already taken a photograph of the hall's main staircase and were setting up to take a second when Indre saw a vapory form slowly taking on the appearance of a woman moving down the stairs towards them. Captain Hubert quickly took the cap off the lens while Indre pressed the trigger to activate the camera's flash. Later, when the negative was developed, the now famous image of the Brown Lady was revealed. The ghostly experience and photograph of the Brown Lady was published in Country Life magazine on December 26th of 1936, January 4th, 1937 edition of Life magazine. In second place, we have a photo of John DeFeo. Now y'all know how much I love talking about Ed and Lorraine Warren's cases, so this should come as a shock to no one. If anyone needs a quick briefing on the Amityville Horror House and not the movie, here goes it. On November 13th of 1974, during the very early morning hours, Ronald DeFeo Jr. ended his entire family and claimed that the demonic voices told him to do it. I'm talking both parents and 4 siblings. Look, I can't say that I've never joked about ending family members when I'm frustrated, but this is a bit too extreme for my liking. Oh, and about a year after that slaughter, a new family moved into the home, but fled after just 28 days, claiming it was haunted beyond any way to live in it, describing slime oozing from the walls, windows that would suddenly shatter, instances of levitation, and more. I'd be here for like an hour if I went into full detail. The image I'd like to highlight today was captured by Gene Campbell, a professional photographer who was part of the team who worked with paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were called in by the Lutz family during the horrors they experienced while, still trying to live in the home. Gene had set up an automatic camera that took infrared pictures to capture the second floor landing during the night. It features what appears to be a young boy with white eyes, believed to be John, who is peeking out of a doorway. George Lutz revealed the Amityville ghost boy photo. George Lutz revealed this photo on the Merv Griffin show back in 1979, 3 years after it was taken. In first place, we have Mary Lee of Waverly Hills Sanatorium. In the early 1900s, the warm, wet weather of Kentucky was the perfect breeding ground for tuberculosis, pushing all of the local hospitals' capacities way past their breaking point. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium first opened its doors on July 26 of 1910 as a two-story wooden structure built to house about 50 patients, but in October of 1926, the hospital had expanded to a 400-bed capacity to accommodate a continual influx of patients as a now 5-story facility. The sanatorium first opened in the midst of a widespread epidemic, and we all know how epidemics and pandemics go, right? Because of the highly contagious nature of the disease, extreme quarantine measures were required for patients and staff alike, meaning Waverly Hills had to function as an isolated island. The self-sufficient facility produced its own food, raised animals, and ran a functioning post office. Also featured a 500-foot-long tunnel that traveled from the first floor of the building to the bottom of the hill. Supplies could be brought in from the bottom, and the countless bodies of deceased patients were discreetly removed from the top. With the eventual introduction of a vaccine, case numbers plummeted, and in 1961 the sanatorium was officially closed, but the pain and suffering of so many souls has left a permanent mark upon the site, and that's where we come in. The photo in question was taken on September 10th of 2006 by Tom Halstead during an overnight investigation of the facility by Missouri Paranormal Research on the 4th floor of the main hospital building at around 7 a.m. If you'd like me to be technical about it, the camera used was a Pentax K1000 35mm film camera with a ProMaster 56000 extendable flash. Black and white 400 ISO film was used, and according to data provided, the camera settings were at about 1/60th of a second speed with an f-stop of 5.6. As one can see, on the right of the frame there appears to be the apparition of a young woman with dark hair and a white nightgown or dress. With the death toll from the institution being well into the thousands, one could worry that she would never be identified. But we do have a lead. She is believed to be a young girl named Mary Lee, based on a photograph that was found of a similar looking girl signed "Love Mary Lee" on the back. One source claims that she is the legendary nurse who allegedly went the way of the rope necklace in room 502 after learning she was pregnant by a doctor and had tuberculosis. If you visit the sanatorium today for one of their ghost walks, you'll be sure to encounter her amongst the spooky residents that never left.
Number 5. La Llorona. Have you ever heard the legend of La Llorona? If you're a top 5 scary fan, most likely, because I know for a fact I've mentioned it once or twice in a video before, it's a very commonly repeated old folktale, and it's shown up in countless movies and TV. It was just made into a movie that was connected to the Conjuring series. But if you missed out on all of that, the short version of the legend of La Llorona is a Spanish ghost who is said to have cast her own offspring into a river and drowned them in a manic fit. We've all had bad days. When she realized what she had done, she cast herself into the water as well, but was cursed to spend eternity searching for her young wherever a body of water is found, calling out into the night, known for a wail and a cry. It's why she's called La Llorona, the weeping woman. She appears all in white with long black hair and is recognized for her cry and appearance. Take a little sip. You entertain yourself back there for a minute. Now think about all of that while we watch this next clip, posted to Reddit titled, "My mom is in Mexico right now." And tell me if this doesn't make you think of La Llorona just a little bit, or like a lot bit. While walking late at night, a traveler comes across a strange white figure that seems clad in a long robe or a dress, moving in a way that makes them seem like they're not of this world. This white dress shining through the otherwise dark night. So what do you think, my faithful YouTube commenter audience? Is this proof of a ghost caught on camera, proof of an old legend walking among us, or is someone just putting the effort into a really complicated hoax? And if you're looking for more videos that might be hoaxes or might not be, Top 5 Scary has all of that and then some. We've got just about everything freaky you could possibly do a top 5 list on. Conspiracies, aliens, cryptids, true crime, fake crime, ghosts, and another scary thing. We've got it. So hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell, but please, would you kindly do that at the end of this video, because I got some more scary ghosts coming right up for you. Number 4, Oxford Castle. Stuart James is an amateur paranormal investigator and a spiritual enthusiast who's posted a few of his findings of strange happenings to the internet. Now, a lot of the things he posted could find their way onto this list, but it was this video of him exploring Oxford Castle and prison that had my hands turning cold and clammy. More so than usual, I mean. Once standing as a medieval castle, the castle was mostly destroyed in the English Civil War. By the 18th century, was rebuilt to serve as Oxford's local prison. Now, Now, a new prison was built on the site from 1785 and remained in operation all the way until 1996. With a few hundred years of visitors passing through its cold stone walls and spending their last days behind bars, is it much of a surprise that it's said to be haunted by the ghosts of some of the long-term residents who just can't seem to break free of prison life? As such, it's a popular spot for fledgling ghost hunters to go looking. The prison actually even offers ghost hunting packages and overnight adventures if you're looking for that sort of thing, but why don't you watch the clip first before you make any decisions? Did you see it? While looking through the glass window pane through a door, a face can be seen clear as day. James said as soon as he saw the face in the window, he and the rest of his team ran to the hills out of the prison, fearing what they had encountered and preferring to look the footage over later in the safety than spend another minute there. What do you think? Because I think I would do pretty much the exact same thing. I mean, I'm watching this video from the comfort of my office in a cozy little recording studio, and it was still enough to put my hair on end. I can't imagine that happening to you in front of your face and being able to keep a straight face, let alone dry jeans, and you're cool. I'd probably be on the first train out of Oxford and the rest of my days salt circling just in case. Number 3, the Nightwalker. Coming up next is a mysterious figure that was recorded on security camera footage from Moorhead, Kentucky. That's in the US if you didn't know. Brought to us by trusted name in paranormal news, Paranormality magazine. The video got a ton of attention, garnering 500,000 views or so, and you can see why. It shows this wretched, pale, hunched over creature running around what looks like a downtown parking lot. What's really creepy about this whole thing is trying to figure out how big it is, you know? It's hunched over, which doesn't make it any easier, but you try and compare it to the car in the video and you can kind of see that it looks like it only comes up to the trunk. Is it a goblin? A gnome? Is this another freed house elf? Has there been a resurgence in freed elves? You can't even make out what the creature's face looks like or if it has any facial features at all, to be honest. Like most good supernatural videos, the camera quality is very choppy. If you've got a keen eye, you probably noticed it's not a rip of the security camera proper, but rather someone recording a monitor. So it's a video recording of a recording, and you're watching a recording of a recording of a recording, so it's not the most crystal clear. Some commenters on the video are not nearly as convinced as me, your host who is easily and immediately convinced by everything he sees. Some have suggested that it could just be somebody in a morph suit, it could just be some youngsters having a bit of fun, but hey, I listen to those and I offer you, it could also very well be a demon sneaking around a parking lot. We listen to all sides, and we take them very seriously here at Top 5 Scary. Number 2, Pale Walker. Coming up next is a clip out of India that went viral last year and captured the attention of paranormal enthusiasts, alien hunters, and skeptics alike. It's really nice when you can get everyone in the community together like that. In this video, a strange, pale humanoid-like figure was spotted walking across the road in India, baffling the heck out of just about everybody who saw it. Whatever it was filmed walking alone steadily on a bridge at night in Yarkand in eastern India, staggering through the night. The thing resembles a human enough, and that's what my brain tells me it is. That's what Occam's razor suggests it should be. But the more you look at it, the more you start to wonder if maybe, just maybe, this might be something else. The creature is gangly, and it has these long arms and long legs, pale white skin, and a very skinny torso. Gosh, imagine having a skinny torso, being very pale, having very long arms, and gangly. Could not imagine what that's like. Could not imagine what that's like at all. It looks a great deal more like a monster out of Silent Hill 2 than it does a person. Motorcyclists in the video are swerving out of the way of the figure, which stops and stares at them for a bit before continuing to stroll onwards like it ain't no thing. Naturally, this got more people talking and wondering as to just what this thing could possibly be. More than a few people suggested that it could be an alien walking around the streets at night, explaining why it seems so confused about where it is. Some commenter even suggested that if you watch the sky, there's some lights up there. I don't know, I didn't see the video enough times. Others even suggested the possibility of it being a ghost, which would be pretty spooky. I'm always open to something turning out to be a ghost. I love a ghost. It does seem like it's interacting with the physical plane though, and those motorcyclists are trying to swerve out of it, so I'm not 100% on that. And finally, there's the realists, who I guess we have to listen to sometimes, who suggested that this could just be someone who had a long night and is lost, possibly on 1, 2, or all of the substances, staggering home trying to get a good night's sleep. Now, as far as I know, no one ever cracked this case, so hey, we may never have a satisfying answer to this. I think this thing should get in contact with the weird little creatures from Point 5 and Point 3, and maybe they can form a weird little pale creatures caught on CCTV footage union. I like this one too. Let me know down below what you think of this. I want to hear everybody's opinions. Number 1, the Chupacabra. And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot is going to be my beloved Chupacabra. Oh, do I love the Chupacabra. It's probably one of my favorite cryptids. If I've ever said another cryptid was my favorite before on this channel, I am now officially retconning it that I have always been saying Chupacabra. I love that in the world of cryptids, you got cool things like Mothman or the Flatwoods Monster that might be an alien, and then the Chupacabra is just like a weird dog. Sometimes it's a goblin, but most descriptions of the Chupacabra just make it out to be like kind of an angry big dog. Well, take a look at this footage of a big, angry, freaky, mangy mutt that's got people clutching their pearls and locking up the livestock. Recently captured footage out of Argentina shows a bizarre looking creature that almost resembles like a mix of a horse and a dog wandering the streets, and it had people scared. Like, it looks like a dog for sure, but an absolutely massive sized one, like bigger than me. I'm talking like Marmaduke size, as hard as that is to imagine. This strange creature was said to have savagely attacked at 2 dogs, fatally injuring a pit bull and a German shepherd, so whatever it is, we know it is angry. Chupacabras typically tend to stick to goats as their favorite prey. I mean, their name almost literally translates to goat sucker, and when you learn that about them, they become infinitely less scary. The clip was fairly popular, garnering nearly 400,000 views on YouTube, and if you ask me, it definitely looks like a Chupacabra to me. The Chupacabra is one that, I don't know, every couple years, something will come out about it. Someone will discover a weird dog and get a video of it, and most time it just ends up being a coyote missing fur with mange or something, but hey, goats keep going missing, keep showing up sucked out of all their blood, so maybe there really are Chupacabras hiding out there, or maybe I just need to believe that they exist. Number 5, James May Pompei. James May Pompei. James May Pompei. I'm gonna be saying that for the rest of the day. James May is a renowned British television host, notable for decades of service to the BBC, zipping cars around exotic places. After Top Gear quietly came to a mutual end that all parties agreed on in 2015, May continued globe-trotting, with less companions and less motoring, in a new show called James May, Our Man In. Well, when our man went to Rome to see Pompeii, it seems he accidentally caught a specter on tape in the old city of Pompeii. You watch this clip and tell me what you think, because I think this one is all kinds of freaky and might be one of the better ghost clips I've seen in a minute. That's why we're starting with it. As May is talking, a lone figure can be seen crossing the otherwise empty street before seemingly evaporating before your very own eyes. It's eerie, I ain't gonna lie. An unsettling coincidence is that the ghost seemingly appears as May is talking to the audience, reminding us that even though Pompeii has found life as a tourist destination, it's still one of history's biggest mass graves. Now, I like to play skeptic a little bit, like, I'm more Scully than I am Mulder. This ghost footage is pretty striking, but we can't cross out the possibility that this could just be something as boring as a camera glitching out or someone trying to scrub out a pedestrian in the background of an otherwise clean shot. Although if that's the case, why so much of the figure left behind? Could this be a former citizen of Pompeii, still trapped through the daily loop of her everyday life after the volcano claimed it and changed their lives forever? Or could this ghost be the ghost of Jeremy Clarkson's career hanging around James May? That one's too mean. Too far. Anyway, we may never know. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of this one. And if you're looking for way more ghost videos, you already know I'm about to tell you top 5 scary is where to be. And if ghosts aren't your jam, we have got just about everything freaky under the sun and above the sun you could possibly imagine. Cryptids, conspiracies, aliens, true crime, fake crime, baby, we got it. If it's spooky, we've done a video or 3 on it. So hit subscribe, hit the bell, and don't miss a single second. But do it after the end of this video, okay? We got way more ghosts coming up for you. Number 4, the insane asylum ghost. This next clip is one that is going to have the hairs on the back of your neck standing on end. This was originally posted to the Ghosts subreddit. A user by the lovely name of RandomDoge47 posted that she'd recently visited the Heartwood Insane Asylum, just as a visitor. Don't want to make that clear, not a patient. It's an abandoned mental facility in the UK that's long been thought to be the home of malicious spirits and poltergeists of former patients who never managed to find peace and drift off towards the afterlife. Definitely given bad vibes looking at pictures of this. Pictures of abandoned hospitals give me the creeps. Something bad. You can just tell nothing good has ever happened here, and nothing good will continue to happen here. Take a look at this footage. In the clip, we see someone or something in the top window seemingly noticing that they're being recorded and then hurriedly shutting the window to sneak off into the night. Now that's pretty darn creepy, but you could be thinking, wow, what if it's just the Redditor's friend or something and they schemed this hoax by preparing somebody. They had somebody climb up in there. Well, the place is locked up and the interiors are dilapidated in a state of serious disarray, and it's all collapsed in on itself and couldn't really support anyone up on the top floors. The windows are locked and the Redditor said there was no easy way for someone to get in. So what is happening here? Is this the ghost of a former patient? Someone who managed to sneak inside and is squatting inside an abandoned insane asylum? 3 raccoons in a trench coat pretending to be human and hiding out in an abandoned asylum where they live and go on little adventures? It could be, and that's what scares me. But you let me know what you think this could be, okay? Number 3, the trampoline. Have you ever seen The Ring? Probably not, because if you saw the movie The Ring, you would have died roughly 7 days after that, and you wouldn't be able to watch all these lovely videos. I'm just kidding, of course. It's not haunted. Or is it? Now, the original Japanese Ring is one of my favorite horror movies, and I can't think of many things I've seen in my life half as truly creepy as Sadako stretching herself out of the TV into the real world. That scary long black hair covering her face, just the way she moves. Yeah, every time. Well, if I thought that was bad, this next thing might actually do me in and put me in the grave. Take a look at this next clip. At first, it seems like someone just filming some summer fun, until you get a better look at what appears to be a figure clad all in white crawling out from under the trampoline. Looking, honestly, a lot like Sadako crawling out of that TV. You see why I brought The Ring up? It definitely has me scratching my head watching over again. However, not everyone is as convinced as I am. I am pretty easily convinced. One commenter on the video attempted to debunk it as a fake, lending a bit of insight as a video editor. They said, I guess that the ghost figure is a clip of someone standing up, which has been motion tracked and composited in with blurring and opacity. If the shot was stabilized, like I'm guessing it was, this would be fairly straightforward and easy. The camera shake could be added in digitally after the motion tracking is done to really sell the shot. I noticed a blur on what looks like the ghost's back as it stands up, and the jumper leg passes over the figure. This blur is wiped away. This clip stops as the figure is moving above the black netting, which is being used to conceal any editing artifacts. Well, that's all well and reasonable, but it could also just be a ghost. That sounds like too much effort to me, personally. I mean, really, also, you gotta think of this. Who would go on the internet and just tell lies? What kind of person would go on the internet and then tell people that these supernatural things were happening if these things weren't really happening? What kind of person would do that just for clicks? Huh? Number 2, creepy puppet. I think we can all agree that, haunted or not, a puppet is terrifying. Nothing good has ever come from teaching a piece of wood to flap its lips. Just look at Jeff Dunham. Whether it's the uncanny valley that makes them so disturbing or simply a reasonable disdain for ventriloquism, puppets are scary. Think of that little freak from Saw, the Goosebumps dummy, or Annabelle. Well, the truth is always scarier than fiction, I find. And in this next clip, we've got ourselves a true haunted puppet. Take a look at this footage that has people's jaws hanging open. Watch the clip. Did you see it? It was kind of hard to miss. Looks like this dummy is keen to give a performance without any help from anybody and has learned to move its mouth on its own. Is something possessing it? Now, knowing its history actually makes things a little bit more interesting, because it seems like it could be likely. The doll is nicknamed Mr. Fritz, and it was recovered from a World War II prison camp where it is said to have been made by a prisoner. It eventually made its way into the hands of a private collector in the United Kingdom. This new owner, one Michael Diamond, claims that several times he noticed the glass display case on Mr. Fritz would open on itself during the night. Now, the reasonable thing to do would be to, burn his house down and make sure the doll burns up and release that evil away and, move countries. He instead set up a camera and filmed it for a few nights and caught this horrifying footage of the seemingly possessed dummy talking. His solution was to wrap it in chains and keep a blanket over it. I would send it to space or cast it into the ocean, but you do you. He's actually not too worried about it at all. Mr. Diamond says, "My wife and daughter both hate it, and I understand why, but I'm not intimidated by it. A braver man than me." Now, this could be faked, I'm sure, but I'm inclined to believe this is real. Haunted or not, I just do not trust this puppet even a little bit, Number 1, grandparents' ghost. That sounds sad. I like to save the best for last, and I think after you watch this clip, you might agree with me, as this is one of the weirder things on a list of all weird things. This was posted to the Ghost subreddit earlier in the month, and was making the rounds on the paranormal and scarier sides of the internet, as even the biggest skeptics were wondering just what it was they were looking at. This redditor and their family had taken a day for a family vacation at a nearby water park, and when they had returned, there were several calls from the security company telling them that an alarm inside their grandparents' home had been tripped. When they returned home to watch the footage, they were stunned at what they had seen, and I invite you now to watch it too. As you could probably see, there's clearly something going on in that house that's a little more powerful than just the wind or a trick of the light. And hey, don't start telling me this is just an orb of dust floating by the camera lens, okay? There is something seriously wrong going on in here, and I think they need to dial an exorcist. The doors of the living room mysteriously shut by themselves, at the same time that the lamp on the table is flickering out like crazy. You keep watching the video, you also see a bowl moving by itself and a chair being dragged across the floor. All things that are like a checklist if you're going through to check if your house is being haunted. That's typical poltergeist behavior. Now, some people were a bit skeptical, suggesting this could very likely have been doctored or faked just to get some attention, but he did post a follow-up afterwards to provide just a little bit more context. He said that he did some digging into the history surrounding his house and the neighborhood. Found out that he lived in the town Napoleon grew up in. That's pretty cool. But more interestingly, he found that the house that his grandparents lived in used to be two houses that were converted into one. And in the other one, there was a story of a man taking his life. So could this be a sign of his spirit passing through something walking through the worlds? Or is this all just a complicated scheme for some upvotes and clicks? You let me know down below in the comments, my friends. Number 5, the spiritual stream. Coming up first on our list today is this footage that has been setting people's minds ablaze. Maybe it's one of the most compelling pieces of supernatural footage on the internet recently, and it's only number 5. So you gotta imagine this is gonna be a good list, and I'm not being sensationalist in any way. Take a look at this. A group of friends and streamers had been watching a sports stream together, and after the stream had wrapped, they're getting into the post-commentary section of things, discussing their thoughts, theories, when things took a turn for the supernatural. Streamer Chris D noticed a dark shadow passing from the right side to the left side of his webcam before going out of frame. Not even half a second later, Chris turned around, deeply aware that there was something that had passed behind him. Chris was terrified, asking if he'd just seen a ghost. Chris's up-close encounter made his friends into a believer. I mean, yeah, if I think there was a video of one of my friends having a ghost walk right behind him, I'd probably start believing too. The host of the podcast running the stream, J. Rob, claimed that he was always skeptical of the idea that the supernatural was real, but quoting, "After what I witnessed while streaming on my channel, it forever changed my belief." And this incident might actually have changed the friends far more than just believing, and might have given him a bit of spiritual guidance, if you'll pardon the pun, as they've changed their path from sports podcasting to supernatural huntings, as the boys are rebranding as the Ghost Brothers and are going to stream Chris's house directly to see if they can catch anything else on camera. We'll definitely see, and we'll be keeping an eye on them, and hopefully we'll see them again in another top 5 scary video. Top 5 even scarier poltergeist sightings. But if you can't wait for those guys to start getting some ghost content, we've already got some ghost videos right here. You don't gotta go anywhere. Click on through on Top 5 Scary and find something to like. Hit subscribe. Make sure you hit that little bell as well so you don't miss a scream. But you gotta do that at the end of this video for me, would you kindly? Because I got 4 more pieces of poltergeist footage coming up for you right about now. Number 4, no strings attached. I think most of us could probably agree that regardless of if a spirit or poltergeist is possessing a puppet or not, a puppet is terrifying. I just don't think any good can ever come from teaching a piece of wood to talk. Whether it's the uncanny valley that makes them so disturbing, a biological impulse to make us recognize that that's not a real person, or maybe just a general reasonable disdain for the practice of ventriloquism, puppets are scary, The Goosebumps dummy, movie star Annabelle, that freaky little puppet freak from Saw who loves playing all those funny little games. Well, The truth is always scarier than fiction, I find, and in this next clip we've got a true haunted puppet on our case and sealed away in a case. Take a look at this footage that has people's jaws hanging open. Did you see it? It's kind of hard to miss. It looks like this dummy is keen to give a performance without any help from anybody and has learned to move its mouth on its own. Is something possessing it? Is there a malevolent spirit inside this puppet, or is it just going solo? Knowing its history makes things a lot more interesting. This doll is named Mr. Fritz, and it was recovered from a World War II prison camp and eventually would make its way into the hands of a private collector in the UK. The new owner, one Michael Diamond, claims that several times he noticed the glass display would open on its own during the night. Now, if I got a haunted doll from a World War II prison camp and the glass case that I was putting it in kept accidentally opening on its own, I would probably burn my house down, change countries, but he filmed it for a few nights and caught footage of the seemingly possessed dummy talking. His solution was to wrap it in chains and keep a blanket over it. Again, I would probably bury it, cast it into the ocean, I don't know, pour salt on it, burn it, but hey, you do you, and I'm glad you're doing it because we got footage of it. Mr. Diamond says he's not worried, saying, "My wife and daughter both hate it, and I understand why. I'm not intimidated by it." Now, this obviously could be fake, some special effects, some fishing wire, I'm sure, but I'm inclined to believe this one is real, and maybe that's just because I don't want to mess with this puppet at all. Number 3. Strange things in Montana. Montana is sometimes called the treasure state. All the gold and silver that have been uncovered there, and also for lesser reasons for all the wild cryptid stories that come out of it. For seekers of the supernatural, Montana is a treasure trove, a real treasure state. Now, Deer Lodge is a city in Montana, and it's purported to be a hotbed of supernatural occurrences. Rumored to be home to creatures that defy classification and scientific convention and avoid the trail cams. Until recently. A local rancher from Deer Lodge caught something bizarre on his land when something tripped the motion sensor on his trail camera. Now, the black and white footage shows a blindingly bright glowing humanoid with what looks like an oversized and oblong head walking bizarrely in front of the camera. My first thought is that Simpsons episode has Mulder and Scully guest starring. The Simpsons episode with Mulder and Scully where Mr. Burns is glowing green through the woods. That's what I'm thinking of when I see this. Now, this trail cam was miles away from any roads or trails, so there shouldn't be anybody creeping around, but there is. The rancher returned to the site of the photo and stood in the same spot and tried to mimic the composition of what he saw. When he posed himself against and compared the other image, he came out looking pretty human, compared to the sort of odd alien proportions of the glowing being, which also happened to be devoid of any features. So what was it? Now, some believe it to be extraterrestrial life. Popular. The show Ancient Aliens, the most reputable name in alien news, took the trail camera footage to analyze for authentication. No alterations, manipulations, inconsistencies were discovered of any kind. Well, I don't know what's going on in there. Others wondered if perhaps the creature could be a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or maybe even some other manner of currently undiscovered or unknown cryptid we don't even know about. This could be a first contact scenario. So what do you think was caught on this trail cam? An alien? A Sasquatch? Something dreadfully normal? We may never know, but it's fun to theorize. Number 2. The SoDo Trampoline. Have you ever seen The Ring? Or perhaps the original, Ringu? Probably not, because if you saw The Ring, you would have died roughly 7 days after that, and then you wouldn't be able to watch all of these lovely videos on Top 5 Scary, and I'd miss you too much. The Japanese original is one of my favorite horror movies ever, which you probably notice if you watch this channel a lot, because I crowbar references in to Sadako roughly 3 times a week in these videos. Not my fault, she's the definitive ghost girl. Love her in Dead by Daylight. Big fan of her. I can't think of many things I've seen in my life half as creepy as that image of Sadako stretching herself out of the TV into the real world, the greasy, long, stringy black hair over her pallid face. Oh, well, exactly for what happens in this next clip, which is just as terrifying. Take a look. At first, it seems like someone filming some summer fun, until you get a better look at what appears to be a figure clad all in white, crawling out from under the trampoline, looking a lot like Sadako crawling out of that TV. Definitely has me scratching my head watching over again. Now, not everyone is as convinced as your easily convinced crypt keeper. One commenter on the video attempted to debunk it as a fake, lending a little bit of insight as a video editor. They said, I'll guess that the ghost figure is a clip of someone standing up, which has been motion tracked and composited in with blurring and opacity. If the shot was stabilized, like I'm guessing it was, this would be fairly straightforward and easy. The camera shake could be added in digitally after the motion tracking is done to really sell the shot. I noticed a blur on what looks like the ghost's back as it stands up, and the jumper's leg passes over the figure, and this blur is whipped away. The clip stops as the figure is moving above the black netting, which is being used to conceal any editing artifacts. Well, okay, so it sounds like they know a lot about video editing, infinitely more than I do, and that's all well and reasonable, but could also be a ghost. Who's faking ghost videos? That's too much time in the day to be faking ghost videos. Number 1. The Jersey Devil. The infamous Jersey Devil is said to haunt the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. There are a ton of spins and variations on its origins, and if you're really curious, search Jersey Devil on our channel, nobody else's, okay? Don't need anybody else taking all those views. There's tons and tons of stories about it, but one of the most famous variations is that at a place called Leeds Point, during a thunderstorm in 1735, a Quaker woman gave birth. As the room flickered with light, the wind howled, and the poor mother who'd already raised 12 infants gave birth to the 13th. Now, some say the 13th was cursed by the devil. Some say she cursed it herself. But the story goes that this 13th child would not emerge normal, but with winged shoulders, a horse's head, cloven feet, and a wretched tail. It would soar out into the night, casting itself in the annals of folklore as the Jersey Devil. Now, over the years, there have been tons of sightings of the alleged Jersey Devil. At one point during the early 20th century, sightings would get posted in the hundreds in local newspapers. Now, our local newspapers don't reference cryptids as much as they used to. I'd like us to get back to that. But what we do have is TikTok capturing it, the modern day newspaper. Take a look at this wild footage that has been going viral across TikTok and Instagram. We see the horrific creature perched, and yeah, I'm not in the business of patronizing you. This is a CGI creature. It's impressively rendered, and they did a good job editing into the scene, but that background isn't Jersey, for starters. The problem is they made this look too good. The creature is too well modeled and animated in a broad daylight setting. You know, a really good cryptid fake would have had the camera a lot grainier and blurrier, and I personally would have set it somewhere a little more rural, a little more farmlandy, foresty, but it's entertaining nonetheless, right?
Kicking off our list, we have Claude Monet in 5th place. Yep, the famed artist himself. If you're not familiar with his work, I'd recommend looking up Impression Sunrise, which is the painting that gave the name to the French Impressionism art movement, or his Water Lily series. Most of his work is made up of stunning landscapes, but I think Woman with a Parasol is my personal favorite of his. But you all came here for a ghosty moment, not for me to wax poetic about art, so let's hop into it. In 2015, the Cleveland Museum of Art was installing a new temporary exhibit from the Royal Academy of Arts in London titled Painting the Modern Garden, Monet to Matisse. The director of architecture was taking photographs to make sure everything looked, according to plan, when she noticed a figure showing up on an empty balcony. The photo in question shows a man with a long white beard, sporting a hat like one Monet was fond of wearing, and looking very much like the artist who was fond of painting his gardens at Giverny. Oh, forgot to mention, Monet was a very passionate horticulturalist on top of being a fantastic painter. The public communications associate who made a public statement on the photograph, Kelly Notaro, has claimed time and time again that the photo is not a hoax, not retouched in any way, and that many more sightings of Monet have been reported since by guests visiting the exhibit. The museum is home to other ghosties as well, with stories told of a little boy running through the gallery dressed in fashions from 1916, and a man in gray staring at the portrait of Jean Gabriel before disappearing into it. Night guards have reported their flashlights flickering on and off in the West Wing, and there's a mirror where visitors report seeing a man standing, but when they turn around, no one's there. Fascinating to me that Monet chose a small museum in Cleveland to appear in, and not the museum in Paris that's, dedicated to only his art. Maybe he felt cozy amongst all the other ghosts. Or perhaps he's traveling the world to make sure his art is safe? Let me know in the comments what you think. In 4th place, we have the Grey Lady of Hampton Court Palace. I guess I should probably introduce her formally to begin with, Dame Sybil Penn. She was a servant at Hampton Court to 4 Tudor monarchs, being the nurse of Prince Edward and also Elizabeth I, nursing her through smallpox before succumbing to it herself in 1562. Sightings of her ghost began being reported in 1829, when the church of the palace was rebuilt and her tomb was moved. I'd probably be ticked as well if I had been resting for that long and then was disturbed. I'm pretty cranky as a person if you wake me up from a deep sleep. Trust me. Once upon a time, I accidentally roared at a friend who was trying to wake me up. Not my finest moment. Anywho, soon after being so rudely disturbed from her grave, strange noises of a person working a spinning wheel were heard through a wall at Hampton Court, which led to the discovery of a previously unknown chamber containing an antique spinning wheel. My inner fairy tale nerd is screaming right now about Charles Perrault. Don't mind me. The photograph we're specifically discussing today was taken in 2015 by Holly Hampshire, age 12, who thought she was taking, a fairly routine picture of her cousin Brooke McGee, also 12, during a day out at the 16th century home while in the King's apartments. Just gotta capture those selfies. The girls didn't realize what they had encountered at the time and only made the discovery when looking through their photos a day later. Okay, now before anyone calls bull on this, it's pretty dang realistic. I know I still haven't looked through every photo I took on my most recent vacation, and those photos are almost a week old now. The photograph shows a tall woman with dark flowing hair, cloaked in a full-length black and gray gown. This is the only time someone has been able to successfully capture her on camera. She's been spotted many times over the years. Just don't confuse her with any of Henry VIII's wives, since they're also quite fond of haunting the place on a regular basis, with Jane Seymour and Catherine Howard being the most commonly spotted. Jane can be found on the Silver Stick Stairs, which once led to the room where she met her unfortunate end after giving birth to the perfect heir, while wild child Catherine can be heard screaming through the haunted gallery, where it's believed that she broke free of her guards after her initial arrest in a failed attempt to reach her husband to plead for her life. Hey, maybe the Now Museum should play host to a touring cast of 6 to see what'll happen. I'd be willing to fly out for that.
Number 3. Security footage. Now we got ourselves another clip from the ghost subreddit. What can I say? If you want to look at ghosts, it's a pretty good place to go. They're all right there. This one was posted to us from user Ryman8 with the caption, "Something set off the security footage on one of our properties. Nothing was stolen. This is the footage." Now you take a look for yourself at the spine-tingling footage. This is one of those ones I had to watch twice, so don't feel bad if you gotta scoot back 30 seconds to watch it again. Let's roll it. At first, it might just seem like a frame at a Skinamarink. I had to really press my nose up to the monitor to see what was going on here. But you can see the faintest silhouette of a figure creeping through in the background, seemingly walking through thin air, barely able to make it out. And then when you see it, you're probably never gonna sleep again as you see that ethereal little shape moving through the room. Now, the poster claims that the front door to the property was open, and that is what triggered the alarm and triggered the security footage. Who could have done that if not for this malevolent spirit? One commenter suggested that it was possible that the energy dispelled by the ghost could have been what set off the alarm and opened the door, and that's why it looks so spectral and ethereal on the footage. What do you all think out there, my internet comment hive mind? Is this some real proof of something from another world walking into ours? Or is this just some dust and light hitting the camera at just the right angle and our eyes filling in the details we wish we were seeing? Please do let us know down below. Doing some digging on this one, the Redditor returned to the same thread a year later and reported that nothing else like this had ever happened, and that he'd researched evidence of any spirits in the local area or on this property and couldn't find anything. So this could just be a one-off incident, or it could be something much more sinister. It could be. I can say whatever I want when I'm talking into a camera. I could say that all of these are aliens if I wanted to. I'm in control here. Number 2, the ghost pallet. Coming up next on this list, we have got some more weird security footage to tickle your viewing pleasure. There's no ethereal figures walking around in this one, but it is pretty spooky nonetheless. This footage was posted by someone who used to work in a meat packing plant, but presumably left when they saw this security camera footage and found out the joint was haunted. In the video, we can see a pallet jack on the CCTV freaking out, seemingly being pulled or moving itself around the warehouse. I've got to say, haunting aside, the atmosphere of this particular meatpacking plant already seems scary. It's flickering lights, cold looking floors. I'm pretty sure this is the meat plant where Jigsaw was playing his funny little games. Back to the topic at hand. What is going on with that pallet jack? There's no reason for it to be moving. There's no wind or anything to push it, and it looks like someone is manually moving it around, if not a little awkwardly. Could it be a ghost who got itself hired? Or is it the ghost of an employee of the meat plant who's still stuck working here? I gotta wonder if ghosts have rights or like a ghostly union, because it does seem like the ghost is the only one on shift right now, and that can't be safe. Where's his ghostly supervisor? Is he making sure he's taking his 30? Now, some commenters with more experience in warehouse settings have suggested that the pallet jack malfunctioning like that could be faulty wiring, a loose axle, or something that could be causing it. There could be all manner of reasonable explanations, or it could be something supernatural sneaking into our world. So what do you think, my comment gang? Is this just a pallet jack on the fritz, or is this a ghost caught on camera? And finally, number 1, mystery orbs. Our last clip today comes to us from the subreddit High Strangeness, which I cannot recommend enough if you like paranormal and bizarre, inexplicable content on the internet, and I kinda suspect you do because you're watching this video, aren't you? But don't spend too much time there. Remember to come on back to Top 5 Scary. Posted to us by user Swingset Superman, this ring light footage has been puzzling viewers as they try to figure out what's going on and what was caught on camera. You take a look for yourself and you see if you got any luck putting this together. There appears to be a series of super bright lights floating outside around the front door. Now that might not be that odd, but it's the way they move I can't stop focusing on. They just don't seem like they're from this world, you know? They float around as if all the dots are connected in some way, moving in coordination. At first I thought they might be bugs, fireflies or something, but I ain't never seen no bug move together like that. If anything, I think we can qualify these strange dots as a UAP, an unidentified aerial presence. That's what I see at first. It seems like a fleet of little minuscule UFOs, although maybe I have just made one too many UFO videos recently, and I think anything strange in the sky, regardless of height, are UFOs. Now, one commenter suggested these could be fairies or pixies of some sort, which would be interesting. I don't think we really talk much about fairies or sprites on the channel much at all. We always talk about scary supernatural things. Makes sense, we're Top 5 Scary, but I would love to talk about a fairy sometime. So I send it off to you, internet commenters. Take a look at the clip, look up the original source if you'd like, and you let me know what you think was captured by the camera that day. Maybe it was just a ghost dropping off a ghostly Uber Eats order. Number 5, driveway alien. Coming up first on our list is going to be this weird video of what looks to be, I'm gonna be honest with you, a visitor from another world touching down on the driveway. Now you wouldn't expect aliens to make first contact in Colorado, but hey, here we are. In the video, we can see a really scrawny little creature running up and down Vivian Gomez's driveway. This creature had people talking after she posted the video to Facebook because, well, look at it. What is it? It's almost like it's got these giant, like, elephant ears flopping around when it moves. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this looks a lot like Dobby from Harry Potter, so we might have to seriously entertain the possibility that this is an elf that just got a sock and is running in happiness to be free. The woman whose driveway caught the security footage, Vivian Gomez, had this to offer alongside the video when she posted it on Facebook. So I woke up on Sunday morning and saw this on my camera, and I'm trying to figure out what the heck. First, I saw this shadow walking from my front door, and then I saw this thing. Has anyone else seen this on their cameras? The other two cameras didn't pick it up for some reason. Now, unfortunately, her security system would only film for about 10 seconds or so. So this is the only footage she had of the mysterious driveway creature. Gomez clarified for everyone that whatever this thing was, it wasn't her son. It wasn't a kid in a costume, because she doesn't let him out by himself that late. Although I think there's definitely a real question to be asked that she saw this thing running down her driveway late at night, and she considered the very real possibility that it might be her son. Like I said, I'm pretty sure the most reasonable, rational explanation is that this is a freed house elf very excited for his future in the first time. Or an alien, very possibly. Could be an alien that just touched down, or could also be a Terminator traveling in time. That's why I look naked. Gang, let me know down below what you think this mystery monster could have been. I'm curious to hear your input. And if you're looking for more scary content, don't even move a finger. We'll have scary videos playing after this one and hundreds more on the channel. Drop a subscribe for fresh screams in your inbox every day, twice a day. Number 4, the tentacle beast. Now, let's take a deep dive underwater for our next one and take a look at something freaky and tentacly. Ah, this feels nice. This feels like getting back to my roots talking about weird sea creatures. You know how much I love the Megalodon. A research crew comprised of marine biologists spotted the strange creature while on board the EV Nautilus, a research vessel used by the Ocean Exploration Trust, a non-profit that conducts deep sea research. While they were down there, they captured footage of a gigantic, bizarre tentacled sea creature swimming around the depths, and researchers have yet to be able to correctly identify it, leaving them to wonder if perhaps this is the discovery of a new species entirely. Luckily, they caught footage of this weird little thing so we can all enjoy it. The creature has a bunch of tentacles extending 16 inches from nearly 7-foot long stalk, and a single polyp with barbed tentacles cupping the polyp like spiky petals. The creature kind of looks like a bizarre, angry, spiky flower flowing through the water more than it does any other marine life I can think of. I'm pretty sure I saw this thing swimming around in the corner in one of the 800 scenes about swimming in Avatar 2. This nasty little thing was found 8,000 meters beneath beneath the surface, where all the truly terrifying life starts to form and Mother Nature gets really creative in a Jackson Pollock kind of way. The expedition's lead researcher, one Steve Alskovich, and a deep-sea biologist, described the sighting as fascinating, and I'd describe it as horrifying, but hey, we each do our own thing. From time to time, we come across something that we never expected to see, and those are often the most powerful observations. Look, I'll stop you right there, man. That sounds way too much like Jurassic Park dialogue for me to feel 100% comfortable. I'll stay where I am, you stay where you are. We'll stay in each other's lanes. Number 3. Tik Toks Poltergeist pair. Coming up next on our list of poltergeist sightings caught on camera is this TikTok account, Lainey and Ben. You might have even come across them if you're particularly big on supernatural stuff on TikTok. They're a pair of teachers who've been viral for the haunted house they live in. Take a look at some of the footage captured from their account. Now, Lainey said she hadn't believed in spirits, but had hoped that she had, because after her mother's passing, she started to truly believe when she said her mother came to her in a dream and told her, "I'm here to tell you I'm okay and I'm happy." She would meet her partner Ben at Teachers College, and the two of them married quickly, buying a house in the summer of 2018. Not relatable at all. They moved into their house, and shortly after moving in, found odd noises keeping them up at night. Footsteps on stairs, creaky voices, until it started to ramp up, with them claiming that they were hearing voices calling out to them during the night, whispering their names. They claimed after this first incident with the voices, the hauntings would then become much more intense, objects shifting, being tossed across the room, coming into a room and seeing a chair stacked, cabinets flying open, drawers launched around. They say they had a friend house sitting for them while they were away, and within a few hours the friend had called to return the keys and said he was done. Allegedly, while sleeping, he felt the duvet get torn off of him and thrown across the room, and that it was just too much to deal with. Honestly, fair. I am the exact same way when I wake up, and that is regardless of if a ghost is touching me or not. Now, despite the fact that the two seem to be living in the Amityville horror house, the couple enjoy it and say they love their spirits and love being part of the paranormal community. Now, is that because these are benevolent, friendly spirits that are easy to get along with and have exposed the pair to a world they didn't know, or do the pair just enjoy the fame and success that comes from posting the clips to TikTok? But I mean, come on, could it be faked? Do you really think anyone would go on the internet and fake things about the supernatural for clicks and ad money? Do you think anyone would do that? Number 2, the Deer Park Demon. Coming up next is going to be this Irish school that has a little too much school spirit. Huh? Instead of a student body, they got a disembody? Do I have a third pun? No. On October 1st at around 3 a.m., the witching hour, surveillance cameras captured these spooky happenings at Deer Park Public in Cork, Ireland, weeks before Halloween. We see the lockers shake, the doors slam, and a sign flopping over, all without a string or person in sight. Now, some online had questioned whether or not the footage could have been doctored or edited in any way, or perhaps it was a hoax with a green screen, and that's certainly possible, but I think you should look up how much funding any public school receives, because they really don't have a lot of room in the budget for fake ghost videos. This footage was unsettling the staff, with the principal baffled at what had happened, wondering if the footage was somehow evidence of a very complicated senior prank. A prank perhaps, but one done by poltergeists, not students. Allegedly, this wasn't the first time something supernatural has been reported on in Deer Park either. The principal, one Aaron Wolf, said that staff in the past have complained about inexplicable happenings around the school, from minor things like the hallways being supernaturally cold to more extreme things like hearing the ghostly wail of a banshee through the halls late at night. Of course, that could just as easily be a student getting back their test results and discovering they are not making honor roll this year. The school was built on a site known as the Green Gallows, a 19th century execution ground for criminals. Is it possible that the lingering spirit of some of these former criminals are wandering the halls, just looking for a bit of post-mortuary education? I'm not sure, and I'm not looking to find out anytime soon. I graduated twice, not looking to go back to school a third time. Number 1, the Hillview Haunting. And finally, rounding out our list today of supernatural occurrences on camera is going to be this clip I've dubbed the Hillview Haunting, what with it occurring at at the Hillview Manor in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. It's been a nursing home, but above all else and beyond, it's a haunted house. The spot is fairly well known locally for being a haunted destination for supernatural enthusiasts, even offering tickets for overnight stays for amateur ghost hunters to try and find the truth. And that's exactly what had happened to an anonymous Redditor who posted this shocking footage of her and her husband and the rest of the tour being charged at by some unknown force. And this footage is relentless, let me tell you. Now, the Redditor blessed us with a little backstory, saying she had bought the tickets for the tour with her husband for his birthday as a gift, and immediately said the two of them began to feel uncomfortable as they disembarked on the tour. Long, empty hallways in the dark, droning sounds, and ghost stories told from the tour guide all contributed to a sense of dread. Her husband had told her that the entire time they'd been walking through the manor, he had felt something grabbing onto his arm, as if it was like a spider web that had been rubbing against him. And whenever he'd adjust, he'd find nothing there. Now, eventually the tour made its way to a hallway on the 3rd floor, and when they started to hear footsteps by the nurse's station that grew louder, heavier, they found the walls and floors shaking, and something sent her husband flying. The two of them ran to the office, shaking with pure fear. They looked over the surveillance footage to try and determine what had happened, but all they were left with was more questions and what was seemingly an invisible presence knocking them all over. So what do you think? It seems pretty difficult to fake whatever had transpired here. I don't know how much you know about pratfalls, but they're not terribly easy to land, not terribly easy to make yourself fall on command. Do you think that was really a poltergeist caught on camera? Let me know down below, because I think this is one of the spookier pieces of paranormal footage I've seen in at least 30 seconds.
Number 5 on this list is the reversed demon. This demon clearly took some gymnastic classes when they were alive as a person, because they're definitely flexing their flexibility muscles now in the demon afterlife. The clips that I'm about to show you were posted to the YouTube channel Kisa Weba. They were captured by a security camera and show a demon slowly crawling across the ground. So as we can see, that demon is just slowly meandering along, minding its own business. Now, you may think that this is the end of the story, but it's actually not, because that thing was caught on another security camera in the area a little bit later. Let's take a look at that. Now, what on God's green earth is that freaking thing? I mean, it has to be a demon, right? Like, what the hell? Its face is clearly all white, completely inhuman. And now that we can fully see the way that it walks, we get a clear sense of how demonic it actually is. I think the biggest question that comes up through all of this, though, is what is it doing and where's it going? Fingers crossed that whatever it was doing doesn't concern any one of us. Number 4 on this list is Chupacabra Square. Back in 2015, a video was uploaded to YouTube from an account named D-Man Operator. The video is only 50 seconds long and shows someone getting chased by a demon or monster in Chupacabra Square. Let's roll 30 seconds of that clip and see what you guys think about this demon. So the man gets into the park, and just to the left of him is this completely demonic looking spider creature. It's slow out of the gate, but then it starts coming after him. The final 10 seconds of the video is going to show this thing get really close to him and then spit what looks to be some green toxic fluid out at him. Let's roll that now. So yeah, let's put it this way. Whatever this thing was, it definitely isn't human or any sort of animal that we're aware of. Now, can I say for sure that it's a demon? No, I can't, but I can say that it definitely looks very dangerous. Watch your back, everybody. This thing came after this dude in broad daylight in the park.